the episode that we're talking about today, that you're going to tell me everything you know about, is The Man Trap.
First one aired, right?
First one aired. And you have this nice little list right here.
The Man Trap, Stardate 1513.1, directed by Mark Daniels, written by George Clayton Johnson. Original air date September 8th, 1966, production code 06.
We're going to learn a lot of trivia.
We really are. And so are our viewers. They're going to learn more than they ever wanted to know. All right. So why don't you, I'll tell you what I thought. So I just was reviewing part of it, the beginning of it. So I think that there's a lot of comedy written initially into the episode, like where Kirk picks the little things as flowers and gives them to McCoy, and McCoy's like, is that how you get the girls? Yeah. And then Wrigley's Pleasure Planet, which I had to think about. There's a Wrigley's Field, and there's also a Wrigley bought Catalina Island here in California. So I was wondering if one of them had visited Wrigley's and there was a little play on the background of that. I don't know that that's the truth, or if that's the case, but I thought it was funny.
We're going to get tripped up on a lot of stuff that is classical information, like most of the references in the titles are all Shakespeare quotes, Shakespeare titles.
Is that right?
Many things are going to go over our head, and we're supposed to know this stuff because we're not classically trained. We haven't read everything we're supposed to. So like you say, Wrigley's Pleasure Planet, and there's someone out there going, hello, that's a reference to blah, blah, blah. And, we're just embarrassing the heck out of us because we don't know that stuff.
Yeah,
gotta watch out.
They'll actually, we're going to get a few different types of people. Those that actually know what it is and actually really know what it is and tell us, and those that speculate what it is, and those that have no idea but they're going to answer. Just like, those technical forums. Man Trap is something from Shakespeare?
I'm saying when in doubt, it's going to be something from Shakespeare, right?
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well, I was reading that the Man Trap actually had a different name, but it was a really weird name. Did you see that or not? You know what? If I find it, I'll just dub it in like my mouth says it.
It's a big long title. Your mouth moves.
So I'm looking at the cast of characters in this thing. So of course there's William Shatner, Leonard Nimoy, Janine Ball, Alfred Ryder, DeForest Kelley, Racely Whitney, George Takei, Nichelle Nichols, Bruce Watson, Vince Howard, Francine Payne, Bud Albert, John Arndt. That's it. That's what I'm looking at right here. So we land on the planet, and McCoy's all in love with this woman that he had known in the past. And I think that, what do they call it, where they're talking in the background, that it's his one love that he left. And I'm like, I think McCoy probably had a hell of a lot of women out there. It's just one of the many.
It's just one, and they parted ways 10 years ago, and he's just reminded of her now because they happen to have to go down there and go check him out, or medical, right?
Right.
Check him out.
And he hasn't been getting any action, and he didn't go to Wrigley's Pleasure Planet, so he's pretty much primed. Even though she's married to this other guy, he's like, man, she's hot. Just looks just like I left her.
Just like he remembers, with the way he remembers her, with the dark hair, right?
Dark hair.
She's got a little gray bones.
Yeah. That was another great line by William
She's a
Shatner.
handsome woman, yes, yeah. But.
And so, let's see. Said, oh God, when he looks at her, he sees that she's looking like the woman from Wrigley's Pleasure Planet. He's like, so she's making all these guys hot. Maybe not Kirk so much, but definitely Dr. McCoy and Darnell. And she, of course, goes after Darnell and kind of, really kind of wants him to think that he's going back to Wrigley's Pleasure Planet and he's going to take her around a rock somewhere and have a little action, right?
Well,
why else would he follow her if she's dropping her scarf or whatever she does there?
Yeah, tosses it to him and looks back and
yeah.
Right.
Kind of schwarzes away. So he's looking for, he's following his little head to around the corner just to get his salt sucked.
He doesn't know.
Dude, I better restart this thing. So, because I totally just went like probably not in the right direction with this video, but it's kind of true. That's where they're going, right? I mean, he's actually following her because he thinks he's going to get lucky, like Wrigley's Pleasure Planet, and she's just wanting her to suck his salt. So,
but we don't know that yet.
No, we don't. But we
audience
know he's not going to get lucky. I mean, I think that that's kind of obvious, don't you?
Right?
Do you think he was going to?
Because at this point, we do know that they already told us, we can already see that everybody sees her a different way. So something's
Right.
up. Something's
up. Right. I mean, it could have been a different movie if they all got lucky, but that's not what's going to happen here. So I don't know why they called it the man trap. That was an interesting thing because I was thinking, you know, she does turn into a man at times too, and then she appeals to Nichelle or Uhura's character later on in the show, right? So, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So why don't you talk a little bit about what you thought at the beginning of the show when they're landing on the meeting
Crater.
Professor Crater, yeah.
This bleak planet, right? And they dig up stuff there. We find out archaeology's going on. We see those buildings, the sets, right? When I watch that opening scene, I'm always looking at, not listening to what I'm supposed to be listening to. I'm watching that they're standing on the outside and there's an opening into that pyramid-looking thing, right? And they're gonna go into that set, but of course, the next scene is from the other angle, and it has nothing to do with that stage 10 or wherever they built that outside thing. And then they're walking through the opening, the portal on this side, and you know, it's a completely different room, you know it. Right. So I'm looking at those things where, how do they match up? Did they, like when I watched it this last time, did they walk through in the same order that they walked into it? Did they screw up? And then I think about, how come all these things, these trivia things come up where you got to read and go, well, this is wrong, and these guys, they're holding, the book is closed, it's not open to the right page or whatever. How does this stuff, happen?
Right.
About as they were going through. Obviously, during production, these things could be days apart, and who's watching this stuff? Who's gonna know or care? But I'm thinking, how can they screw this up? This is important. This is true.
But I think the thing is if you remember, I mean, this was 1966, and we didn't really have video recording, so people just didn't notice it so quickly, right? And you could never go back and reference it.
Right. Never.
So it was pretty much one and done. You're done with it, right? So I don't think that people were as meticulous back then with the continuity as they are now. I mean, continuity is, of course, it's important back then, but
and you certainly had a continuity person, pictures, notes, whatever.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Had to have that, but I don't think that we had as many people, or that there was many people sitting in front of the TV writing down everything they're seeing, because it's the only way you're going to capture it, right?
Right.
Or talk about it real quick with your friends so that it's embedded in your brain. Now.
Hey, did you see this new show, the Star Trek episode 1, the Man Trap?
No, that's for those teenagers. That's for the college kids. Yeah.
So then Uhura, she's flirting with Spock, and I don't know why they put that in there. I mean, I don't know if she wants to. I guess it was kind of like a lot of sexual overtones in this episode, wasn't there? I mean, you got the Wrigley's Pleasure Planet, you got his old ex, you got someone that doesn't appeal to Kirk, but and then you got Uhura kind of flirting with Spock.
She has nothing to do. She's just, she knows job is communication, and she's on the bridge, and she has to be professional. She's right now at that moment probably bored out of her skull, and she's making conversation, and she's talking with Spock. She's got to be careful. She's got a flirting, like you say. No, that's in the show just to get some ratings, right? Make it entertaining.
So that was not, you didn't take that as flirting. You just said she's just killing time.
Right. She's even said that, didn't she? I mean, that
she said, I wish you would be a little more romantic or something like that, I thought. Let's see.
So, Mr. Spock, sometimes I think if I hear the word frequency one more time, I'll cry. I was just trying to start a conversation. No, you have an answer. I'm an illogical woman who's beginning to feel too much a part of that communications console. Why don't you tell me I'm an attractive young lady, or ask me if I've ever been in love? That's just them bantering. That's not.
Okay. All right. I thought she was kind of like, so let me go back a little bit. I missed something. We missed something on the planet where they're all talking about salt. That they all need salt. Like,
Yes.
did you get salt? The guy's dead. Hey man, what about the salt? So they kind of like it registers and tricks. It gets into McCoy's head and Captain Kirk's head. Hey, they keep asking about salt. What's that about?
Yeah.
And I don't know why the professor gets all upset. I mean, we know that there's a reason for it later, but I think there was a couple times when they were a little bit too angry about things. Like Uhura again, she gets mad at Spock for not caring who's dead on the planet. I guess because he didn't ask who died.
Oh, right. He says they've got a good crew in the transporter room. They'll take care of it and they'll let us know. And she says, wait, why are you acting that way, right?
Right.
Nancy says, you did ask them about the salt tablets.
Yeah.
I'll take care of the provisioning, Nancy.
Yeah.
Let's not reveal what's going on. And
so I have a question for you, Bruce.
Yeah.
That kind of came into my mind right away. And so he says later on, I guess there was millions of them, and they're on a planet with no salt. Isn't that kind of odd? I mean, did they suck all the salt out of the planet and now they're just like needing, salt doesn't really go away, right? Sodium chloride, right? It just kind of stays there. So I'm not sure what happened to all the salt.
Right, we don't know that if they said they had millions of inhabitants, there used to be a civilization. This is the last one of its kind. They're all gone. The environment is pretty arid. There's no salty brine sea to go into and drink some salt. I mean, they've either ruined their environment or it's just that civilization extinguishing.
So the evolution didn't work very well on that planet.
And we don't know, did they leave? This civilization died, and so they're doing research. Well, why? And what artifacts are they finding? And here's the last creature, and you're saying, where's all the salt? Well,
yeah.
As the population died off, which we don't know why, there would be less equipment, less ability, less for them to mine their salt, to get their salt, to distill and to make their food. And this being was just living on what it could find. And then Crater comes along with salt tablets, and they're friends. Well, no.
Well,
Crater
I
doling
think,
it out as.
I have a couple problems with this episode. One, I think it was kind of meant to be a little bit funny in some ways, but the salt thing, kind of like, how does a species evolve in a planet without salt when that's their major need is salt? At least it's a very big need. I was looking up how much salt is in the human body. I think it said 20 tablespoons of salt. And obviously in that little shaker that he has, there's not 20 tablespoons left. He's got a few little pellets, which is not really going to help her out. Right?
Right. Anything is going to help. And you don't know that there wasn't a bunch of salt available before. You're saying, it's not there. It's not there.
Yeah, but when something evaporates, the salt is always left, right? I mean, if you evaporate water and you have salt water, you still have the salt.
Yeah.
So it's not like the salt just goes away. And so I'm wondering if they had millions of these creatures and they all needed salt, let's say they were all eating salt, but as they died off, that means that would be a whole lot of salt left for the other creatures that were still surviving to use, right? But it seems like on this planet, all the salt's gone. So
or not easily accessible.
Yeah, but still, if you let's take the numbers. If you had 1 million people, right, and you all needed water, and then 900,000 of them die off, unless all your water evaporates, because of some catastrophe, you're still going to have a lot of water that's still going to 100,000 people could still drink. Right?
That's right. And we have a catastrophe now, and the water is gone, and now the individual pockets of people, it's becoming more and more difficult for them to drill and make wells to get water, and then that disappears, and then they're just eating leaves like koala bears trying to get some water out of the leaves because it's some catastrophe. So why wouldn't it also be on that planet where it's difficult for the last few people as they die off more to mind to grab to get at the salt. We don't know how difficult it is. Water, we have an easy time. We open up the faucet, and then the catastrophe happens and the oceans are gone. Then what do we do?
Okay. All right. I'll accept that. I'll accept that explanation. I think that's a good explanation.
You know, when we were, I've done this before. I watch Star Trek with friends, and then we have problems, just like you do, just like you just did. We have a problem with something that's going on, and we'll pause the show and go, how do you explain this? How can we buy into this? And people come up with ideas, and then we go, and finally it's enough, and we go, oh, okay, I can buy into that. And then the suspension of disbelief goes back, and then you go watch the show again. So I think it's great that you stop and go and say, wait a minute, how could this work?
So I like your explanation. I mean, it's a really good explanation, actually.
It could be a catastrophe, and now we have an arid planet, and the water was accessible with salt in it, and now it's not. And as they slowly died off because of something, they have less and less food, and they're just
salt
getting to the stuff. It's the salt's there, but it's not easy to get.
So I don't really think that they knew what they called in when the Enterprise came, because that was an easy thing to solve, right? Because all they had to do at first is say, hey, we need salt. That would have been so easy for the Enterprise to give them salt to keep that woman happy or that creature happy for millennia, right? For like ever.
I would expect that Crater, when they said, hey, we're scheduling a meeting for your health, your physical, oh, by the way, we need 50 pounds of salt we just used up in the last, 5 years. He probably put that on his list of things.
And she was just kind of impatient.
And may not have even known that he already had his thing, and then he's gone, I'll handle the provisioning. Don't say that stuff out loud. I've already kind of warned them that I need salt besides, and it's totally legit or legit looking, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So then she was a little, she needed her fix. She's more like a drug addict, it seems to me, right? Someone that can't wait to get their fix. So she takes this guy out. She knows how to get to him. I don't know how she knows that, but she knows how to get to the Wrigley's Pleasure Planet thing and get him by himself and then suck his salt out. And then she causes a fuss that this guy's dead and then he poisoned himself somehow.
To cover her tracks, because all is what that being wants to do is survive, get the salt. If I can cover my tracks, I can get more salt.
So I don't think that the beam was very far-sighted. I think that she was very short-sighted. If she's killing everyone off for a few tablespoons of salt and there's only 3 people that land, she's only going to be able to do it a very short amount of time.
I agree. I don't think that this being is as intelligent as the rest of the characters. This is a being just in survival mode. There's instincts.
Yeah.
It's using its ability, like they were talking about, to camouflage, to hide, to get what it needs, which is food to survive. I don't think that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so then it gets beamed up aboard the Enterprise as someone else, right? So, and that part I really don't get, and maybe you can help me out with this too, because as aggressive she was as a woman on the planet, kind of enticing Darnell or whatever his name was, and McCoy. I mean, she was very outgoing and very sweet and everything else. When she gets on the Enterprise as that Darnell guy, she all of a sudden clams up. She doesn't say anything. She's just freaky, acting freaky. And I'm like, why would her personality change so much just because she took on another character? Or the
environment is completely different. This animal knows the arid planet and knows a few pyramids. They know that history. And then gets onto an enclosed spaceship with a bunch of people around that person, and a lot of them.
Yeah.
Doesn't know that its mind-bending technique can take care of itself there, cover all the situations. Maybe it's concerned. Yeah. Or did it inherit something of Darnell's character? But come on, what was his function?
It wasn't Darnell. It was Green. I think it was Green. Yeah, Green. So I don't know what he was, a yeoman or something, Green, lieutenant, whatever he was. Bruce Watson was an actor in his last name was Green. So you're thinking that she just took on his personality and just kind of freaked out going onto the Starship Enterprise. Because I figured if she saw that salt, I would have just kind of knocked it out of Yeoman Rand's, just knocked the tray down and grabbed the salt and kind of chugged a bunch of salt, right? I thought it'd be more aggressive than it was if it was instead of following around the salt shaker for a while.
If this creature has been under Crater's thumb, we don't know if Crater has been bullying the creature around or threatening, right? I'll give you some salt if you do this, or whatever. Maybe they don't know what our strengths are on the ship, and that being is concerned about just
people.
Yeah, is it instinct, and then it goes, well, the cat's skittish, it's not going to go. Not sure about sitting on that lap.
Right. I get that. So let's see here. Then, Captain Kirk. I thought there was a couple interesting things. I already said about Uhura when she reacted to Spock and says, "You don't care who died." I mean, she just kind of had an outburst. And then Captain Kirk had his outburst, like when McCoy was telling him something about the woman on the planet, and Kirk goes, "I just want to know about why he's dead," because McCoy's telling him that he could have got up and walked away. And I don't know how a body would look without any salt in it. I honestly don't know what that would look like. I think it said 20 teaspoons of salt in the human body.
I don't think
we're the same. It says we're the same as the oceans, according to this article I was reading.
Okay. So, and most of it's going to be in
4% of the body's weight is a concentration pretty well equivalent to seawater at 50 kilograms per person.
We'll be 4% lighter after that salt's been removed.
Yeah. Just a little lighter.
Interesting that they can get the salt, but not necessarily suck the blood or the plasma, the other liquids out of the body, so that McCoy could say, "There's no salt. You got all the salt."
Yeah.
But you didn't mention anything about, well, your veins are drained dry, right? It was the salt specifically, so there has to be something to that being to be able to.
Well, I think with all the little marks that it leaves on the face and stuff, maybe it just kind of had a way to circulate the fluids in the body and still just suck out the salt and let the fluid, kind of like a dialysis machine or something like that.
I was thinking transfusion, right? It pushes in its stuff, it gets the salt, it comes back out. Yes, dialysis is great. Maybe it was doing that.
It just leaves a little, all the fluids. So then what happens? We move on to, she's on the ship. The hand. Takei's hand. Takei's hand. Dude, you're saying there's not a lot of sexual overturns in this, but I think there are. Because Yeoman Rand is saying, "I'm just worried about your hand grabbing me sometime."
Oh, one of your creatures grabbing me.
Yeah.
No.
And that the hand's kind of there, just kind of, doing the hand thing.
Yes.
Right. And it just reaching out and grabbing her. I mean, it's, maybe you didn't take it as a sexual thing, but it kind of sounded sexual to me.
It sounds like co-workers bantering, and making a joke. I'm walking in and you've got all this weird stuff growing around. You botanist weirdo, you, and I'm afraid that one of your plants is going to jump out and grab me, and that's more of a joke, I would think.
Yeah.
Okay. And that hand, you couldn't tell that was a hand. Come on, that was a very clever prop. Yeah.
So let's see. Then why does it go after Uhura? And he changes into a handsome man that Uhura would be attracted to.
Do I know you?
Oh, I know why he's going after her, because he's kind of got her alone, right? He wants to get her alone, Uhura,
in the hallway,
or the creature wants to get her alone. So he acts like a handsome man that Uhura would be attracted to, so that he can take advantage.
Interested in, so that they would stop and be able to talk in that hallway. Right. Like Like, hey, some animals chase their food, right?
Yeah.
This one, if they can hypnotize you well enough, and it has the ability to then corner you in order to suck the salt out of you.
Yeah. And I think that's what she does, right? She kind of puts a trance on, or it. Because I really kind of think, at first I thought, I think it's just an it. I don't know if it's a woman or a man. It's just a shapeshifter in a way.
Sure. Exactly.
So, I like the way that they had to give the visual cues on when the monster was actually inhabiting someone. So it was always this thing here with the.
Yes, right. You have to have some continuity for the people to know what's going on.
Yeah, who they are at that moment.
Right.
So I'm a salt sucker. I don't know. Then she goes back to McCoy. Well, I guess because she still has feelings as she takes on his persona. She has feelings for McCoy, the way that his old fling did. Is that why she doesn't go after McCoy?
The creature has feelings for McCoy.
Well, she doesn't. She has him alone in his room, and she's not sucking his salt out.
That's survival.
What, you think? Because she thinks McCoy's going to take care of her?
No. Or where's her next meal coming from, or whatever? She's just that's just survival. Come on, that creature will turn on McCoy as soon as it can.
No, because she has him alone in his room.
Yes, I say that's just a next step. That person doesn't need to be killed yet.
Okay, so she's preserving him for later.
Well, taking advantage of whatever that person can provide for the situation. Remember, it's all a bunch of lies when she gets into the quarters and she tries to talk him up. It's just the creature trying to survive.
Does she beam back down to the planet or not? I don't remember if she beams back down or she's always on the Enterprise until the rest of the episode's over.
Once she beams up, she's up there.
She's up there. So then
down and kill some more. I don't think so.
So then they go back down to the planet. Oh, that's when they find out that the guy's wife is dead and buried up on a hill, and the creature had killed his wife, and he doesn't really seem to care about his wife being dead.
Right.
Because he's more concerned that this is the last of this creature and it's going to be extinct, and he wants to make sure that he tries to preserve the last of its kind.
Where's your wife?
Yeah.
Where is she now? Dead, buried up on the hill. It killed her. When? A year? Or was it 2?
So why hadn't the creature turned on him already? Survival again? You think because...
He had the salt.
Yeah, but she could have taken the salt, I think, right? Couldn't she have just went in there and taken the salt?
Yeah, and gone into that bottle. Exactly. So was the creature just... it was a comfy lifestyle? Oh, it was alone. Was it merely... Why didn't it kill totally and just grab all the salt for itself and be done with it? Because it wasn't quite that stupid.
No, I just can remember when I was raised on a ranch. I think you knew that. And, so we put out big salt blocks all the time for the cattle to lick. So if you would have just beamed down about 50 of those things, it'd have been okay for a while. 50 salt lick blocks, it would have been great.
As long as there's those blocks, no one's getting killed.
So is there anything is there anything in this medium part here where, Kirk is finding out what happened. He's finding out it's one of the last creatures. They go back to the Enterprise. The salt monster kills Crawley.
Let's go
Is that his name?
Take a look. I'm a doctor, not an engineer. Oh, that's a commercial. All right, let's see. Very interesting hypothesis, Doctor. How do you suppose that creator can figure out if it's the creature or not by looking? Because Kirk says, have you learned to see this thing in whatever form it is? And he says, yes. Are you going to help us find it? No.
No.
How do you suppose?
Oh, that's right, because they're at the table and it's sitting right there.
Yeah. How do you
You're right
suppose
there.
he identifies that creature? Nuance.
I think-
What subtle thing does he know about the creature that gives him away? Oh, the finger thing,
The finger thing.
right?
But I think, but I think he's lived with it long enough that he knows what it does, just, instinctually. I think he's probably just, it's like being around someone and just knowing the way they act, right? So it doesn't change much from time to time. And then, she attacks Spock, but his blood's different, so it can absorb the salt. I guess, I don't know, Spock doesn't have salt in his blood, or it's more of a copper-based blood, isn't it, on Spock?
Right. We find out later, copper-based. Right. Green blood.
Yeah. It's green blood. And then she goes after Captain Kirk, and McCoy is standing there with a gun and doesn't want to shoot her or it. And he's not going to kill you like the salt sucker. He's just...
And it becomes Nancy for you, not because of tricks. It doesn't trick me. It needs love as much as it needs salt. Well, at least Crater hopes that that's
right.
Of course, It turns on him in the end anyway.
Yeah, turns on him and sucks his salt, and she's just on a killing rampage at the end of the...
Yeah.
So I don't know. What did you think overall of this episode? I mean, what are your feelings and thoughts and reflections on this episode?
I started liking Trek partially because of Spock, but also because of the ship. The ship is a big deal to me. Blueprints, that technology, and so guess what? We got to end up on the ship half of the episode, right?
Yeah.
Lower decks, the briefing room, the McCoy's quarters. I love that stuff. I love looking at those sets, the way they made them, going, I wish my house was like that.
And now it does. So the ship kind of got you, but as the episode and the salt monster and the whole writing of it and production.
It was an early episode, and first season is always great.
Yeah.
It was new, and they had fresh ideas and stories. This particular episode, what can I say? I like them all. What's good about this? They're not in their characters yet. They've only done a few episodes. You said, I think, number 6, right? I said number 8. What do I know? They don't know their character perfectly. It's not like they're episode 20 or something. I watch it because it's the first one, and either I'm going to watch it in production order or I'm going to watch it in air order. And it comes first and you watch it. Do I have any comments? I can't say anything about it. Anything.
Really? Do you think Paramount, it was Paramount, right? They wanted to put this one on first, the management at Paramount? They wanted to put this one in, and they changed the order of the episodes.
But they wanted this one first.
Right, because they wanted more of a creature, kind of science fiction-y kind of dilly-bopper.
Yeah, they don't know science fiction. They just think that that's monsters.
If you were going to say, how would you rate this one overall? And because I know you've seen all the series,
right.
So you know all the episodes. How would you rate this one?
I'd rate this right in the middle. This isn't the abnormal or unusual piece of the action funny show, right? There's a 80, and it's not City on the Edge of Forever. Where they're going and what their parts are like, and we got a great story. It's and it's so can you give me a name? Oh my gosh,
I forget.
Yeah, they'd say, oh, that's terrible episode. Well, after watching it year after year, decade after decade, it grows on me. It's like, yeah, that's cool. So it's right in the middle.
50, about a 50. So for me, I didn't like it that much, and I've watched it a few times. I've tried to watch it. I never really seemed to be able to get through it all the way. I've tried to. I think there's a few things I really liked about it, like the humor that was trying to build into it. But I don't think I liked that their solution was killing the creature at the end. I think that salt is too easy to come by in most areas and most places. I think the Enterprise could have easily made some salt for this creature. And, I know that they've done some other stuff where they leave people. They could have put the creature back on there with enough salt to keep it happy for years to come. And unless the planet was dying in other ways and the creature would have been dead anyway. I know that it would have been lonely on the planet, but at least it would have had some salt.
You're asking the story to be written a different way, because what happened was the creature grabbed Kirk, and the creature had to be killed.
No, because then it was going over. He left Kirk though. Remember, he let Kirk go, or the creature let Kirk go, and it was kind of walking toward McCoy, and then McCoy killed it, shot it again, and killed it.
Yeah, and you think that they could have said, "Oh, just hang on a second. We can manufacture a bunch of salt. Here you go, and we'll pop you back down on the planet. You'll be good."
I think so. I mean, didn't the phasers at that time, they didn't have stun? It was either kill or kill.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to document or look. A lot of people write into Memory Alpha, right, .com and have probably all figured out, when do these things appear? When is the first time we get to see stun versus, right?
Yeah.
When did the shuttlecraft come? When did we get a shuttlecraft to solve the transporter problems that they can't be?
So I guess that's it. I was wanting to do this as a first. Unfortunately, I've watched all the Trek episodes, right? The original series episodes. And so I can't, and I didn't, and I really wanted to do it with this episode, is say, if I could watch this Star Trek episode as watching it as a first episode. And you just brought up a good point. If the phaser only was killed, then I understand it. I could say, okay, they had to get rid of this creature because it's just causing havoc and it doesn't understand, hey, we can make you some salt. You don't have to kill us all, right? So that way to me, it makes sense. If they didn't have stun, or they couldn't have done something to this creature, thrown a net around it, took it up in a helicopter, dropped it back off on the planet, I can understand killing this creature. But for salt, I mean, and I know on Earth, salt is such a common thing. I had to imagine that the Enterprise, for the crew of the Enterprise, they had salt in the salt shaker, for God's sakes. That salt is plentiful, or else they wouldn't have had salt. Yeoman ran carrying a salt shaker around. So it's pretty plentiful, even on the Enterprise, and with the replicators and stuff like that, because they did have the replicators at the original series. So, but I could imagine, but if they had the phaser could only kill, then I understand. And that would make this make sense to me. But to kill a creature that's just starving for salt, I know it's a drug addict, right? Hey man, give me a fix. But still, you could have given a hell of a lot of salt.
I see what you're saying. I hadn't thought about that. I was more viewing this as, hey, here's an emergency situation. Someone's gonna die. Go shoot the thing. But they could have just as well, like you're saying, stunned it, and then take it back down to the planet and let it fend for itself like it did before Crater was there.
Yeah.
Even without salt.
And then they could have put a little emergency buoy out and said, hey, if you visit this planet, make sure you beam down a shitload of salt before you go down to the planet.
So I've watched this episode for decades, and I've never considered, why didn't they just put it back on the planet? Why did they have to go kill it? Well, because Spock said, didn't he say, shoot it?
Well, shoot it because it wasn't her. Remember, Spock was saying, could she take this? And he's hitting the crap out of the creature, and the creature just stands there, right? And then throws Spock across the room. So he's trying to convince McCoy that it's not his old girlfriend. He's saying, hey, could she take this?
Right. Maybe it could put up with stun and...
Right. Because the first time he shoots it, it falls on the floor or something, right? Doesn't it? Or something. It just kind
of... changes shape once.
Yeah.
One more time. Shoot it, Doctor, quickly. Shoot, quick. I won't shoot Nancy. I won't shoot Nancy.
So what did you think about the name of the episode? Because the man trap, I know you're saying Shakespeare and stuff. I don't know that this comes from Shakespeare, but maybe it did. But I'm wondering if in today's world in 2020 now, if it would still be called a man trap. I mean, the creature took on men, like a personality of a man too. So, as well as women for the men. So
I think we're talking human man trap, not male trap. But I don't know. I could be wrong.
So the human trap.
It could be.
Okay.
It could be the. Did they mean the man trap, as in this creature trapped this male Professor Crater with its ability, or does anybody could be trapped by this, a human trapping being? I don't know. Are we missing something? There are people out there laughing, going, "No, it's so simple." No, I don't know. I've never thought about.
Well, I think like it changed it from where no man has gone before to where something has gone before, right?
Or no man has gone before. No one has gone before. Yeah.
No one, right? So it could have been the one trap.
I never thought about this, about the title. I've probably thought enough about it going, I don't understand it, and moved on. You know how you read a word and you don't know how to pronounce it?
Right.
And well, in your brain you figure it one way, but you just keep reading over it until you finish the book. And then when you have to talk about it, you got to go, how is that pronounced? Then same thing.
Yeah,
I probably skipped over the title and not figured out what it's supposed to be referring to. And that would be my education. I should probably be should probably know right away off of that title what they're referring to.
Once again, I think you have a good explanation on that. The man trap, because man was a commonly used term for people in general at that time. So like history or her story, right? So the man trap would be inclusive, which it actually was. So that makes sense too, because it was trying to get salt from whichever person it could have gotten salt from. It wasn't really discriminating as far as that's concerned. It did have that mind control that went over it. I mean, that's why Kirk basically couldn't fight back, and Uhura almost got sucked. Her salt got sucked. So that makes sense. I mean, that's why you're an expert and I'm not. I'm just asking the questions, and thankfully I have you to fill me in.
Here's a guy who says he didn't like the name of the title. He didn't like the title. He said, in Portuguese, this episode was titled The Salt of the Earth. That was a better title. So was the Unreal McCoy, for that matter. I never liked the title The Man Trap. Too on the nose, and rather sexist for that matter. Much like the Starfleet officers leering at Rand. Where was their evolved sensibility? So here's the guy that just mentioned what we were talking about. The title.
Now, when did he write that? Can you tell when that guy wrote that?
Yeah, this is 2015.
2013. See, so we're already up. We're already, it's not the 1960s anymore. So I think we're good there. That, I think, of the episodes, though, I didn't like it that much, but that's just me. And, I wasn't looking at it like, I was too old to look at it, I think. Does that make sense? When I first saw it, I was already thinking differently than, oh, wow, this is a cool science fiction Star Trek, travel through space and see different creatures and stuff like that. So.
And you watched this episode and it turned you off totally, and you said, "What the heck?"
No, not at all. But and like I said, I was raised on a ranch, so we used to put out salt blocks. I mean, all the time. That was one of the big things that we did. You have to put salt out for the cattle. So I think for me, coming from that perspective, it's just salt. You could. I don't even know what salt blocks cost, but they definitely weren't that expensive when I was a kid, and those things are huge. I don't know if you know what a salt block is. A salt lick block. Have you seen those?
No, but I can imagine.
They're about a foot square, so a square foot, and you just put those things out, and like cows lick them. I figured this little salt thing could just put its fingers on this salt little thing and have enough for a long time.
Get a headache. Get drunk.
a salt headache. So, but yeah, I mean, but I did like the humor in it, and the Rand thing, and the little hand, and the puppet, the little flower thing. I mean, I think a lot of people have made fun of that flower, but But what the hey? I mean, they didn't have a big budget. So I think that overall, not having a big budget, not being the first one, I think it was a good episode. If that makes sense. In that way that I'm looking at it, I think it was a very good episode. Looking at it as a discriminating person saying, hey, we could have just given him some salt, we would have been all good. And if this creature was a little tiny bit smarter, because you already knew that you could get salt from the Enterprise, just wait a little bit for that fix, right? You don't need the fix now. Don't take Darnell around the corner. You're not gonna get any, he's not gonna get any, and you're both gonna be unhappy.
Right.
So I really kind of would love to do a little research on the back end of this, on what the writer was thinking. I don't know this writer. Do you know much about the writer?
Tell me who.
George Clayton Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
Let me see if I can find out anything about him real quick.
American science fiction writer, best known for co-writing Logan's Run.
Oh, Logan's Run.
And The Man Trap, of course.
Oh, he was born in Cheyenne, Wyoming. He knows about salt blocks, man. They have a lot of cattle out there. So I think I'll look a little bit up about him, maybe add something about him.
Let me see if there's any trivia in my list here.
Oh, did you read about The Man Trap in your book? You said you were going to read it in your book.
It was a difficult read. I didn't get through it all. I didn't.
Oh, okay.
It was like, whoa, where's all the good stuff? But I have these little notes in my database on trivia, so I'm going to quickly put Man Trap here and trivia. I made a comment to myself that here's an episode where a species went extinct. Are there any more episodes like that? That's my little note. Oh, and the phaser. Let's see if there's a time code here. I don't have normal time codes here that would help, but there's a gray handled phaser in there. You know, phasers have black handles and the pistol type. Black handles and gray handles. And in this episode, when I watched it, back in '94, when I was going through these once again, I said, okay, anytime I see something weird or out of the ordinary for me, and I'm watching them in order, air order. If I notice something new or something is different, I'll write myself a little note. And one of those notes was, hey, there's a gray handled phaser in here. And so another thing I like to track was which communicators they used in the episode. And there was always one communicator that had a little blemish on the front, the grill. And there's another communicator where the lid opens up 135 degrees or so. And I called in my notes, I would always write down, oh, there's 135 degrees. So there were a few, I would imagine, hero props, right, that they'd use, and I noticed those. And so here's a gray handled phaser in this episode. There's some other things. In this episode, you can see the seam where Spock's or Nimoy's prosthetic goes on his ear, right?
Yeah.
And then the seam isn't quite, or it's breaking apart in one of the seams you can see fairly clearly.
Oh, is that right? Oh, wow.
I wish I had.
Yeah, that was an early prosthetic. I was read or heard where they have problems with them when they first started putting them on Spock.
Yes, so that's early. So I mean, I'm not complaining. I just like the trivia kind of stuff. I'm gonna see if I can get time codes in the future for this. I noticed that there's green blood and a red gash for Spock. It's kind of a combination.
Oh, he has a red gash. Oh. Is that when the creature's beating the crap out of him?
I think so. It's like, well, which is it? Is it green or is it red?
You know what I'm going to do? I think what I need to do is like Kirk scream when the salt monster's sucking the salt out of him. So I think I'm going to use that as my my cell phone ring.
I love it. Yeah. Hilarious. Oh my gosh.
So anything else we want to mention about this episode?
Yes. Right when Rand says, "You've been nipping Saurian brandy or something," and then there's a bunch of screeching and the door opens, and Sulu says, "Take it easy," to Gertrude. The special effects sound for the door aren't there. You can hear the real door opening, sliding open.
Oh, is that right? Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right. So it's saying here, Goose, revealing mistake. When Spock is recovering from his attack, he has green blood on his forehead, which is correct for the Vulcan. However, he also has an inexplicably red gash. See, you notice that kind of thing. That's good.
Oh, and I said 94. This had to be 1990 or 1991. This was like pre-internet, you know? So I was writing notes before we had Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Memory Alpha and stuff.
Well, I don't know. I guess, like I said, I think it was a good episode. I think I don't quite understand. They could have made it going after something else, I guess. Maybe something in the blood like plasma or something that's kind of like unique in a way, and it kind of didn't have any more of that. But, you know, off topic, it reminded me somewhat of, well, not really, it didn't remind me of it at all, but you know, what's that guy's name that wrote The Sixth Sense? Actually, it kind of did remind me of it. You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So remember the one where the creatures come to Earth and they start killing everyone, and then I think Mel Gibson is in it, and then it rains and they all die. I mean, it's not like they can look because they're allergic to water or something. I imagine if I was flying above a planet and I looked down and I said, there's a shitload of toxic shit that's down there for me, I would not land on that planet, right? I just would fly right on over and go to
the next one.
A desert planet. So running out of salt, those things, you know, I like your explanation. I really like it, because I couldn't figure out how, you know, salt doesn't really evaporate. It's always there, you know, sodium chloride. So I like that you kind of equated it to something that I could understand. Like, yeah, in some instances it could go away, right? It could.
As the population deteriorates and goes down, the technology to get at this stuff is more difficult, and well, we just end up with a survivor. And this is we don't know over what period of time, but this is a big civilization, and we only have one left. It's been a long time. Definitely, we are definitely clean cut.
We're clean cut.
Yeah.
So cool. So
I am glad you brought up. You should do that. Bring up when there are inconsistencies that I have merely glossed over. I buy into all of this stuff, going, yeah, good episode. But I never thought about the title, or no one's ever mentioned to me, hey, how come why didn't they just feed it salt and put it on the planet? What happened to no interference? Who's interfering?
Because they, you know, and really, I'm trying to do this series, Bruce, where I kind of like wipe out the rest of the series. If I could take this one as season 1, episode 1, right? It's the first one you see. It's clean, and it's in your head. It's a fresh thing. But I unfortunately, I don't know that I can do that. So, but on the other hand, I don't know that they needed to kill the creature, even if this was the first time I've seen it.
Okay, good thoughts.
What about you? What's your thoughts? What's your closing thoughts on this episode?
Yeah, what? First episode, September 8th, 1966, unleashed on the world. It's the only thing I know about it. When I watched it this time, I watched it with the original special effects. When I watch it with friends, it's, what do you want to watch? The new special effects or the old special effects? Oh, let's try the new ones. And they're saying that and just making a joke of it, because they obviously want to watch the new special effects. But I always want to watch the old ones. I think that's
a good point too.
I think they're going to be forgotten. People are going to just watch those new discs, you know, with the new stuff and the new CGI.
Yeah, but you know that already that looks dated to me too, even with the new ones, right? I mean, and later on they're going to change the look and feel of the Enterprise if they do any more special effects, because it's just dated now. Even the new special effects, don't you think?
You are spoiled.
I am spoiled. But I mean, I would rather watch it, like you're saying, as a classic, non-enhanced stuff than I would, because I've watched some where they're side by side with the special effects and the original.
Yeah.
And honestly, yeah, it looks better, but I really kind of like, I'm like one of those guys that sits there and gets pissed off because they're colorizing in a black and white movie. That's the way the director wanted it, even though that was the only choice he had, right?
Right,
Black
right.
and white.
Exactly.
If he wanted it in color, by God, he would have used black and white because he didn't have color. But I don't know. I just don't get as big a thrill of the enhanced graphics as a lot of people seem to have. I don't think it makes that much of a difference in the story or the production value for me. But not to say that for other people it's not a great thing.
I've watched it a lot, and I think the CGI was a great move on anything that was, not in the ship, all the spaceships and everything. But
Do you think it adds to it at all? I mean, it seems to add to it for you then.
Well, a new generation that probably watches it in a completely different way, going, "Oh, this works," as opposed to the old special effects. When I'm alone, though, and I just watched this episode, I turned on the old special effects.
Yeah, right. But I was watching something else, not Star Trek, but another one, and it was really cool because it was a really big budget film. I think it was big budget, maybe not. I can't remember. I'll have to remember the name of it. But they only did half the ship. They only built the ship that's facing the audience, right? On the other side, he said, "Don't worry about it. We'll never shoot that side of the ship." So
they did that with the USS Enterprise.
What's that?
They did that with our ship.
Oh, really? With the Enterprise?
Yeah, you bet. Wires hanging out the other side.
Oh, yeah. No, but he didn't even have it built. Wasn't the Enterprise fully built, though? I mean, they had all wires on the other side, but they...
Yes, okay, yes. There was more than one half of it.
Right. He only built half because he said, we're only going to shoot one side of the ship for the whole movie, and so he said, don't worry about the other side, which I would have never known until I heard the director say that, or that don't worry about it, because it would have been too costly to build both sides of the ship. But yes, you said it comes in at an angle. I guess they cleaned all that stuff up on their new special effects. Is that right? I know they put nice planets in the background and cleaned up the black.
Well, now we have CGI models. We get to look at the ship all over, and it can do barrel rolls. Not that they were very tasteful, but they could, and you could, and
right.
I
think the next episode we do is just going to be on the Enterprise itself. Because you know a lot of stuff about the Enterprise.
What is the next episode?
Yep, the next episode is, I just had it up. It's called Charlie X. One of my favorite, Charlie X. I like Charlie X a lot. So Ayn Rand, she's getting tussed in the tushy, and just like this one, she's getting leered at. And just kind of all the guys want to do her on the ship, and the next one he gets to tap her on the butt. I really like Charlie X. I thought that was a good show. Well,
we're gonna go check it out. I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah. So I think I watched the original, not with special effects. I don't know that they did much for Charlie X, though. Would they have? There's not a whole lot that's outside of the ship in Charlie X.
Right. I mean, the Thasians, right? There's got to be some, but
right, the Athasians, but
probably one of the easier ones. We'll have to take a look.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, I think we did a good job on this one. I'm glad we kicked off with this one, and I'm glad you brought some enlightenment to my life with this Star Trek episode 1, season 1, episode 1, 1966.
Yeah, a long time ago. Yeah, thanks. I'm glad you brought some stuff up. Okay, so I look forward to the next one. That's going to be awesome. Charlie,
me too.
We're going to watch that show and make some commentary on there. And maybe I can get some more my special effects notes out of my database and see what I noticed on the Laserdisc back in 1990.
Sounds great, Bruce. Thanks again. Bruce TOSK, and Kevin Lynch. Star Trek. Episode 1, Season 1, 1966. Next time.